Transitioning to a slightly happier topic, for a topic that I know people like, and something that a story that I've been following for a bit. LiAngelo Ball, the middle brother in the Ball family, Lonzo, LiAngelo, LaMelo. So the middle brother, LiAngelo, apparently has just signed a G League contract, which means that he's eligible to be drafted in the G League on October 23rd, which is when the draft takes place. He obviously played with the Charlotte Hornets this past summer. And listen, the Charlotte Hornets, I said this before, the Charlotte Hornets, they complimented LiAngelo Ball. They praised him for his efforts in the summer league. A lot of the coaches all were extremely ecstatic about him and extolled his work ethic, the fact that he was showing up to the practice facility 2 hours before every single practice the entire summer, that he was diligent, that he was a hard worker. And they really appreciated everything that he brought to them during that summer league stretch. And the big thing that I think people forget when they're evaluating players is where they are now versus where they can be versus where their potential is. Because what they're seeing now isn't always going to be the finished product. And that's the biggest problem. You have guys like Jimmy Butler, who, when he entered the NBA out of Marquette, he was known as a defensive specialist. He didn't have any offensive game really in his arsenal. And now he's evolved and he's grown and he's groomed himself into an elite two-way player and an elite offensive player in particular, who's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Draymond Green, drafted in the second round drafted in the second round out of Michigan State several years ago. Well, he was viewed as an undersized big man who's under-athletic. And yet he turned himself into an NBA champion and having a Hall of Fame career as a three-time NBA champion. And he was a crucial piece of the Golden State Warriors' dynasty. So what he entered the NBA as wasn't who he was going to be. That wasn't going to be the final product, the finished product. People forget that LiAngelo Ball is just 22 years old. He's 22. That's younger than Luka Doncic. That's younger than Brandon Ingram. That's younger than Lonzo Ball. And it feels like we've known about LiAngelo Ball just because he and his family have been in the limelight. That's a sneeze. Whew. Excuse me. Almost had to sneeze there. It feels like we've known about LiAngelo Ball and the entire family just because the family's been in the limelight for the last 5 years. But the reality is people don't really know how young LiAngelo Ball is. This is a guy, I mean, maybe what we're seeing was his full potential, but it could be that he's going to improve substantially more. He didn't have stellar numbers in the summer league, 9.5 points, 2 rebounds, shot 37.5% from the floor, 34.5% from the three-point line. But he did have, in his debut, he scored 16 points, 5 of 5 from the three-point line. And listen, we know some of the limitations with his offensive game, but at the end of the day, he's 6'5" and he's 230 pounds. So obviously those numbers didn't land him a spot in the Hornets training camp, but he was signed to the G League draft. So he's got an opportunity to be signed by the Greensboro Swarm, which is the development affiliate of the Charlotte Hornets. So he's got a chance to make the roster. And again, I've said this before, I think the only 2 teams that would make sense for him to potentially be on are the 2 teams that feature his brothers. So Lonzo Ball with the Chicago Bulls, so the Chicago Bulls, and of course the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball. From a talent perspective, he's probably a borderline guy, but because he's not very athletic, he predominantly scores just off catch and shoot. opportunities. He's not a huge playmaker, not a great defensive player. But again, he's still 6'5", he's 230 pounds, so he's got the girth, he's got the size, he's got the physicality, and clearly he's got the drive to be great. Whether he gets there, I don't know. But if he can continue to kind of develop his three-point shot, develop defensively, again, that size, that's a pretty versatile size for a shooting guard. It's possible that he could make a roster. And I've said this before as well, that I think the underappreciated aspect of what he brings is that family component, because I prefer to see him with the Hornets as opposed to the Bulls, because the Bulls with Lonzo, I want Lonzo to be in a fresh environment by himself, give him an opportunity to flourish entirely on his own, away from family, away from distractions. But with the Hornets, I think that he can have a similar effect that Thanasis had on Giannis. Remember when we were talking about Giannis, how Giannis, for the longest time, he kept falling short in the postseason. And yes, his brother was on the team, but their family's just as close as the Ball family. And I think that the presence of Thanasis really benefited Giannis this last postseason, because all the struggles that he had to overcome, having this guy in his corner constantly cheering for him, constantly praising him and applauding his efforts, I think really provided a huge emotional boost for him that helped bring out the best in Giannis. Their family is just as close. And I think that LiAngelo, again, while LaMelo Ball was already the NBA Rookie of the Year last year, it's not like he really needs it. But at the same time, I do think that LiAngelo Ball can provide a similar boost to LaMelo if he was given an opportunity there. And at the end of the day, they're all hoopers. They're all hoopers. The entire family is. Lonzo loves to play. He doesn't say anything. LaMelo plays with flair and panache, but he's a pretty humble guy. And by the looks of it, it seems like LiAngelo is as well. He doesn't say anything either. So I think that all of those guys should be given a shot. I would love to see it happen. Again, I'm not bailing on him. I'm not like other people. I'm not going to bail on him. I'd love to give him a chance.